back to EMS One News and Insider Analysis. Ed Bauter and Dan Schwester from the Overrun here. How we doing, Danny?
Yeah, we're doing all right.
And we have a story today coming out of San Francisco, which is at least interesting. Tenecteplase, TNKase, is the first FDA-approved stroke medicine in almost 30 years. It offers a faster, simpler 5-second IV bolus administration. Those who've worked in the field will know about tenecteplase, right, where typically this is an infusion. This story is pretty quick. It talks about a 5-second IV bolus as opposed to a 60-minute infusion. The company that starts at Genentech is going to launch 25 milligram vials to support this release. And the idea they're getting out of San Francisco is that this might be a faster way to treat acute stroke in hospital. Now, as we talk about EMS, we hear about mobile stroke units, we hear about all these different ideas. And this is something where this 5-second administration feels tailor-made for EMS, but we're not quite there yet, Danny. We want to kind of put a quick pause on this. So this is a cool thing that is great for medicine, but might not actually improve pre-hospital care.
Yeah, this is something that is interesting to know, but I wouldn't file it under anything that EMS is going to see anytime in the near future. So without going into too much detail, let's go through the numbers here. And I don't have them all right in my hand, but look, the TPA studies, for the most part, that have made that the thrombolytic of choice for years, it's kind of sketchy. There's not a lot of good data to show that TPA actually does what we think it does. Some of the studies actually have been stopped because of harm to patients. The thing with TPA was that it was a bolus followed by an 8-hour infusion of medication. That gets to be cumbersome, especially for critical care transports or flight teams, because now they have to have that infusing. Tenecteplase is a better choice for people that are going to be sent out because it's a bolus infusion. It does basically the same thing as TPA. It does have a little lower rate of hemorrhagic conversion, which is a really bad thing when the blood clot in your brain doesn't dissolve, but it starts a hemorrhage in your brain. So now you have a patient that had a clot, now they have a bleed. This is not good. The mortality rate is relatively very high for these types of situations. I would say if you're a mobile stroke unit, of the 7 or 8 nationwide that are out there, this might be something that's coming to you. But again, remember all the things that have to be done before a thrombolytic gets administered. You have to have a non-contrast CT at minimum. Most places will do CTA, maybe CTP beforehand. You have to see a neurologist. The neurologist has to do an NIH. And the NIH score takes some time. It's not something we do in the field that we would do in the field. It's too detailed. It takes too much time. We're better off recognizing the stroke with the simpler scales, taking them to the hospital, what the appropriate facility is. Whether you're a primary stroke center or a quote-unquote drip and ship, or you're a comprehensive stroke center that has thrombectomy and neurosurgery capabilities, I don't see this going to change a lot in the regular EMS world. And I can speak for this. I am one of the few medics in the country, honestly, that actually gave TPA in a mobile stroke unit. That unit is not up and running anymore. I think the data is not there for it. And I think with mechanical thrombectomy moving into the forefront of taking care of stroke patients and especially ischemic strokes, this might be like giving thrombolytics was back in the day when we had STEMIs and we had nothing to do. And then once cath labs started, you don't see that anymore unless they can't get to a cath lab within 3 or 4 hours. So it's cool. It's interesting. It's a different formulation of a thrombolytic drug. But again, lots of downsides, lots of potential for harm. It's a very nuanced decision that requires a lot of moving parts. So probably not something for EMS.
I think that's probably true. Tenecteplase was started it's a clot buster. So the whole point of it was to give to STEMI patients years ago. I think it's kind of illustrative of how slowly things move for pre-hospital medicine, where, now it's 30 years on and we're talking about giving tenecteplase for thrombolytic strokes.
Well, tenecteplase has been given in centers for a while now, for a couple of years. It's just been an off-label use. What the FDA approval allows is now making it, quote unquote, that's the standard of care.
They've approved what we've already been doing. Yeah,
pretty much.
But again, that kind of speaks to all right, so now this has been approved. there's so many variables in the pre-hospital environment where it almost feels like going through the assessment to decide whether or not the patient is a candidate for tenecteplase might actually just take more time than taking to the stroke center and actually have them spun under CT. So there's maybe some applicability in rural medicine, right? If you're very, very far away. But for right now, this is one of those cool stories that we're going to follow. Maybe we'll see tenecteplase used a little bit differently out in the field in the coming years. But let us know what you guys think. Have you been using tenecteplase out in the field? Or how do you feel about clotbusters in strokes generally? Check us out at Overrun Productions and find all of our stuff on YouTube, here on EMS1 and on Spotify, as well as on Apple Podcasts. And for EMS1 News and Insider Analysis, Ed Bauter and Dan Schwester, and we will talk to you next time.